You see, what our kids are doing that you and I never did is they're going to college in the era of social media. Our kids are at a severe disadvantage. Here's some advice for parents who are sending their first kid off to college, which my husband and I did last year. So number one, stop calling and stop texting them. They have to literally figure this out on their own. Whatever it is that they're going to meet when they get to college in terms of the problems and the challenges that they face, it's the lessons that they need to learn. And if you're constantly texting them, constantly calling, constantly checking in, you are not giving them the freedom to make mistakes. You are not forcing them to be uncomfortable. You are literally doing them a disservice. And I truly believe that, because despite the fact that you and I look back on college as the best 4 years of our lives for most of us, the truth is it's hard in the beginning, and we don't remember that.
Mom, can you pick me up? I'm scared.
And you want your kid to go through it, and you want them to learn the critical skills of facing difficult situations, of learning new friends, of negotiating roommate problems, of figuring out how to get to the health center, how to figure out the new payment system at the school, how to get things to work. You do not want to train them that they should be asking you. You want to train them that they can figure it out. So stop calling, stop texting, and let them reach out to you when they need you. Second, under no circumstances should you tell them what to major in. And I know for a lot of us, this is a really challenging one because we think we know best. But my philosophy and my husband's philosophy around parenting is that it's our job to raise individuals in a manner that gives them the critical thinking skills and problem-solving skills, and that also gives them a safe environment to figure out who the hell they are. Because you're not going to live their life. They have to live their life. You're not going to do the job that they eventually have after college. They have to do the job after college. And I can tell you something based on the research. People perform better when they're interested in what they're doing. So while you may be a lawyer, or you may be a doctor, or you may wish that you were, don't put that guilt on your kid. What you should say is, now is the time for you to figure out what truly inspires and interests you. Go to school, study what you think you're interested in. If you figure out you hate it, like I did with pre-med, took me 1 semester in a lab to realize, not for me. You want to remove the guilt, and you want to force your child to grow up and start to understand what it means to be an adult, which is figure out your value system and figure out what's going to work for you. And it's really hard. It's really hard because we think we know best. But how do we come to those conclusions? We fail, we struggle, we experiment, we make decisions and realize they were the wrong ones. This is the time for your kid to do the exact same thing. I also think it's really important that whether or not you're getting student aid or you're paying for your kids' education, that you make your kids earn their spending money through summer jobs, through having a co-op kind of job while they're at school. Look, pay for the clubs if you can, pay for the books if you can, clearly pay for tuition if you can, pay for the dorms if you can, pay for the meal plan if you can. But anything that's going on off campus, I personally think it's really important that your kids learn the responsibility of what it actually costs to party. And they learn the responsibility of being able to go to classes and maintain that life, and also figure out how to have a job at the same time or work their ass off during the summer so that if they want to pound down the vodka on the weekends, that they can do it themselves. That's not your job to pay for it, and you're doing a disservice if you constantly hand them a stipend in order to go blow it at the local liquor store. And finally, this is a really hard one, particularly for we moms. This was very hard for me. It is normal for your kids to hate it in the beginning. It's normal. We forget that college is really lonely in the beginning. We forget that there's large periods of time where you're bored and you don't really know what to do. We forget what it's like to show up at a place and know no one. And it's very disconcerting. And there's another thing that as a parent, I watched my daughter go through. She literally ruined her freshman fall by playing a game called Who's Having More Fun at College? You see, what our kids are doing that you and I never did is they're going to college in the era of social media. When you and I went to college, most of us left our high school friends behind, and there was no way to get in touch with them because the only way to get in touch with somebody was to use the payphone in the dorm hallway, and you weren't doing that with your high school friends. You saw them at Thanksgiving when you came home. Our kids are at a severe disadvantage because when they go to college, they take their phones with them, and all kids play a game called Who's Having More Fun.
To the break of dawn, yo!
They put every party on social media. They put it on Snapchat. They put it on Instagram. They only show themselves having the time of their lives. And if your kid is having a rough start, or if they're at a school where the parties aren't as big right away, they will sink into a depression and they will start to convince themselves that this isn't the place for them. So, I'm telling you this because it is normal, particularly in today's world, for your kids to be sad, for your kids to feel like their school isn't as fun, for your kids to feel confused about the choice that they made, for your kids to start talking about maybe they should transfer. It's painful when it's happening, but just listen. Affirm where they are. That must be really hard. Wow, I can see why that would be difficult to see so-and-so at a frat party and so-and-so at a Big Ten football game and so-and-so rushing and so-and-so doing this and so-and-so doing that. And then assure them that it will get better with time. And then remind them of the thing that they're going to hate to hear. You know, the more people you know, the more likely you're going to be invited to a fun party. So maybe you should get your ass out of your dorm room and stop talking to me and get your butt over to the dining hall and go meet somebody.